the name of that incandescent Spirit who calls us into the world. Please be seated. Bishop Taylor, thank you. Thank you for inviting a deacon to preach today. It is an honor to be with you. It's been a long day, and I promise to be brief. I promise. My name is Laura Siriani, and I was ordained 4.5 years ago by Bishop Bruce in my home parish, St. Paul's, Teston, where I continue to serve. That day, Bishop Bruce arrived at St. Paul's, I believe, straight from the airport, and in her intuitive and kind way, assured me that God welcomes servants who are late bloomers. That was and continues to be good news. Like you, I will miss that intuitive, enormous spirit of hers. And now it is my privilege to serve alongside the deacons of this diocese as the Archdeacon. And I hope that my few minutes with you will offer some insight into why we deacons serve as we do and where all of us fit into the church today. You may have heard somewhere along the way that deacons are drawn to the margins of society. And since that ordination 4.5 years ago, I have learned that the margins are in fact ever widening gaps, gaping holes in our common life. Deacons are drawn to live into those gaps. We're drawn to the jails where violence and abuse have fostered more violence and abuse in a never-ending cycle. We are drawn into the streets where there exists such a disparity of income and mental health treatment that the gaping hole of our social fabric seems impossible to repair. We are in the gap that is the hospital ICU ward where early in the pandemic we sat with families as they whispered their goodbyes to their loved ones as a nurse held the phone to the ear of a dying patient. Deacons are on both sides of the border of our country, welcoming exhausted families who have made their way to this land of hope because of the devastation of climate change and the economic violence that is its result. Deacons are in care facilities for the elderly and in transitional housing and in recovery homes. Deacons are in all of the gaps that are not seen, all of the unseen gaps. The Spirit has called us there so that the most vulnerable around us will know that they are cherished people of God. And then we advocate for justice at city council meetings and state houses and in Congress. Today's gospel and its apocalyptic language paints a picture of devastation. And it is gospels like this one that confront us, forcing us to decide between reality and illusion. The key, I believe, is to remember that before arriving in Jerusalem, Mark spent quite some time describing Jesus and his journey to get there. That journey to Jerusalem is a guidebook for discipleship, the discipleship of a servant. Now that his followers are in Jerusalem, they're awed by the beauty and magnificence of their surroundings. But Jesus dismisses their wonder at the sight of the new temple and tells them that all of it will be thrown down. The temple was built through the exploitation of the most vulnerable, and his description of the temple's ruins suggests that God's way is so contrary to the existing power structures, that the two cannot coexist. In the end, Jesus reminds us that destruction makes way for something new. We know what devastation looks like. The number of lives lost over the last 2 years is still hard to comprehend. How do we envision a future for the church in this world, this post-pandemic world? We can begin with what we know. We are the beneficiary of beautiful liturgy and beautiful buildings handed down to us by those faithful ancestors of ours. They are the treasures that we return to week after week to be nurtured by our communities. We now know what it's like to be without those treasures. Because here's the truth. Our spiritual homes provide us with the nourishment we need to do God's work. The Eucharist in communion is our anchor. And here's another truth. The ever-persistent Spirit does not stop calling us to those gaps where hope is lost and fear grips everyone in the way. The Spirit calls all of us. And I'm talking about everyone in this room. We're called to look out beyond our church walls, beyond coffee hour and church school, and the comfort of our beloved community. Last winter, we at St. Paul's had the experience of a persistent Spirit. While we were thankfully able to continue our food distribution safely throughout the shutdown, it was exhausting for everyone. You know this. It's grueling work to keep people safe. As we continue to distribute food each week, we noticed that we saw the same people week after week, unshowered, the same clothes. There was no place to wash up. Agencies and gyms that offered showers were limited, and most everything was closed. And then a sizable grant came our way, and we thought we could buy access to showers. But nothing worked out until Family Promise came forward. And they are a nonprofit agency that works and offers transitional housing to families through a network of churches. Family Promise had a brand new shower trailer that they could not use. And so they needed a place to store it. The grant allowed us to purchase supplies and hire Anna to clean and manage the inventory. Anna and her family had lived on and off the streets for years and often slept in our parking lot. The Spirit persists even when we are exhausted and our vision is cloudy. Today, that reliable offering of showers each Sunday has helped build relationships that give us a window into remarkable lives that manage to survive despite every possible barrier. The Spirit knows us. The Spirit knows that everyone here understands how to reveal the heart of Christ in the world. Everyone. And that is an invitation. So, when Deacon Dominique Piper dismisses the Eucharist this afternoon, consider it an invitation to join the deacons in the gaps and on the margins. Join us, knowing that this invitation comes with a warning label. Every time we enter the gaps, our hearts are broken. We see things that we did not know existed, and our hearts expand as we grow and begin to see what the Spirit sees. Imagine it. all those amazing Episcopalians out in the world. Come with us, and we'll show you the way. Thanks be to God. Amen.